Hello there, I have returned. Are you well? Good. So it's another month of lockdown. So I've returned with my car rambling news rubbish that I did last year. I have upgraded somewhat. It does kind of look like I have a studio here. It isn't. I thought I'd up the game a little bit. Also, my neighbours were starting to give me funny looks when I was talking to a camera by myself and drinking pints in my car on my driveway. Anywho, let's get the ball rolling because I'm bored and I love cars, and if you're watching this, I hope you love cars too. Okay, let's go. By the way, this microphone doesn't do anything, it's just here for effect. It's good enough for Larry King, it's good enough for me. So off the bat, the first thing I think we need to speak about is probably the most, I don't even want to use the word controversial, but the most, what's the word? The car that reached the most social engagement over the last week. And before I continue, let me put this plain and simple. I have nothing against electric cars. I actually really like some electric cars. If I needed a commuter car, which I don't, like most people do right now, but living in Dublin, if I needed a commuter car, I would fully consider an electric vehicle. Something small and fun, maybe the new Peugeot E208, even the Volkswagen ID, as dull as that is. I'm all for it. I wish piston power and EVs could have lived harmoniously all through these decades. People could have had their electric vehicles. People like myself could have had their internal combustion engine on the weekends. But anyway, the electric future is upon us. It's here, and it's only going to continue. So I'm going to start off with an electric car, and the electric car that I think everyone knows well is Tesla, and they have just released a updated version of the Model S. The looks are still as bland as ever, even though they've done a few mild tweaks to the design. It's still one of the dullest cars I've ever seen. One thing Tesla do very well is battery technology and electric motors. There's no denying it. They've moved the game on. Yes, they jumped in on a technology that people just let fall by the wayside because oil companies, etc., etc. Anywho, they have moved the game on, and that's the point. But that's the thing, is they're a tech company, and I just don't think they build cars particularly well. There's plenty of evidence out there that their build quality is incredibly questionable. Anywho, the new updated Model S, which they're calling, there's two trim levels you can get now called Plaid and Plaid S. A little in-joke from Elon there about Spaceballs. That's not where it ends. The best thing about this car in Plaid Plus, which they claim, it has 1100 horsepower, which is ridiculous, and it will do 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, which is also ridiculous. More power than anyone could ever need. That's not even pleasant power. It's that's really fast roller coaster. It's uncomfortable. But even with all those performance gains, they're saying it will do 520 miles, and if it does, that's incredible. I assume you'll have to heat up the batteries, and you won't be able to do that again and again at full power, but we shall see. But despite all these incredible technological gains that Tesla have come along with, they seem to have spent all their time highlighting the fact that the preview model, anyway, at least, had a kit Knight Rider style steering yoke, I think they're calling it. Bullshit for starters, because it's not going to be legal in most parts of the world, and people did dig in and found that yes, there will be a normal round steering wheel. Whatever, I get it. Social media engagement, controversy, oh my god, everyone's talking about Tesla. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. The thing about the steering wheel, both yoke and round, that really pisses me off though, is not only has Tesla brought in the giant touchscreen, which is ridiculous, and every other manufacturer seems to have gone on board with it. We need buttons in a car. What he's done with this new steering wheel, which admittedly Ferrari came over first, they put the indicator buttons on the steering wheel. Now at least on a Ferrari, the right indicator's on the right hand side and it's a button, and the left one's on the left hand side and it's a button. In this new Tesla, they're both on the left hand side, and they're not even buttons, they're haptic feedback. I even have a quote here from a quote tweet Elon Musk, as he says on the new steering yoke and new steering wheel. No more stocks. The car will guess the drive direction based on what obstacles it sees, context and nav map. You can override it, but you have to go through the touchscreen to do it. No, no thanks. You can just imagine Elon Musk. That's the problem with Tesla. It's Elon Musk. The company isn't that bad. It's just he's a massive twat. That's enough EV chat. Anyway, let's talk about something with pistons. And another ridiculous four-door saloon car that was also released last week was the new BMW M5 CS. And what do I have the figures here? The Tesla makes it look silly because from its V8 petrol-powered engine has 635 horsepower, 555 pound-foot of torque. It'll top out at 189 miles an hour. The Tesla says the Plaid Plus will go to 200 plus. The CS are always like the stripped out, track focused, sporty variants of BMW M cars. So they've shaved 70 kilos out of the M5 CS through carbon fibre and ceramic brakes, etc., etc. It's still a 2-ton car, which is ridiculous. But it's a really stupid car. It's got 4 bucket seats in it, so it's not particularly practical. It's ridiculously expensive. It's, for all intents and purposes, €200,000, possibly more when you tick a few boxes. Stupid car, really, really stupid car, and I absolutely love it. It's ridiculous. We'll probably still have another petrol-powered M5 in the next generation. It'll probably be a hybrid. Might even lose a couple of cylinders, which is not a bad thing in BMW circles. But the one after that, you'd have to assume is going to be an electric car. So, look, let's celebrate the internal combustion engine while we can. It's a ridiculous car, and I triumph BMW for making it as stupid as it is. Plus, it's got yellow daytime running lights. Someone at Citroen must be absolutely kicking themselves that they didn't come up with this idea first. Not a big fan of DRLs, but I like the yellow ones. Speaking of DRLs, people who know me will already know this, but I think they are the shittest piece of legislation brought into the car in the last, the last century. When they first came out, they looked shit because they were those little dotted LEDs. They look a lot better now, I'll admit, with the constant flow of light, and some designers have got them down really well, but they're so pointless. So many people are driving around with just their DRLs on, because with the DRLs comes an illuminated dash, so they don't realise that they're not driving around with their lights on. There's no illumination from the daytime running lights, so it's not lighting up the road ahead of you. Also, why the fuck, excuse my language, get used to it, how is there not a warning sign as soon as you get in? Or why aren't they all automatic headlights? All of these things are possible. Anyway, before I get too hot under the collar, we won't talk about DRLs much longer. Another crazy, if you want an alternate to the BMW or the Tesla, Cadillac have an alternative for you. It's called the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing. So the Blackwing is like the black AMG Black series of Cadillac performance cars. This gets a 6.2 litre V8, 668 horsepower, a supercharger, which is always cool, and to top it off, it's got a limited slip diff, etc., etc. Comes as standard with a 6-speed manual. God bless the USA, huh? Also, so the Tesla, when you get it on the road, the M5 CS, we're talking 200 grand. Cadillac are selling this in America for $84,990, which on my current exchange rates, I think that comes in at about €70,000. So a good probably 130 grand saving on either of the two alternatives we've already spoken about. It's not a particularly good looking car, but hey, long live the 3 pedals and long live the V8, huh? Now to slightly less consumer advice. You may remember last October, SSC, which is I can't remember what it stands for, Shelby Supercar Company, possibly. No relation to the Carroll Shelby. It's just another guy who likes cars, and his name happens to be Shelby, I think. Don't quote me on that. But they brought out their latest hypercar, and they did a run on the Kennedy Spaceway, and they claimed that they did a average run of, was it 316 miles an hour, and on one of the runs they hit 331 miles an hour. People called foul straight away. Look, like science and religion, I had to take their expert advice, as we all did, but they backed it up with a lot of evidence and big numbers and words. So SSC did admit, like, oh, there must be a bit of discrepancy there somewhere, but we'll be back and we'll try it again. And they did. They came back last week and they gave it another shot. And it's V-Box verified, so it's all above board as far as we can tell. The thing is, though, the average run was 282 miles an hour, which is quite a bit short of the 331 they claimed to have hit last year. I think it's in and around what Koenigsegg did about 3 years ago. And Bugatti, although it was a one-way run and I don't think it was any independent adjudication, they got their special long-tailed Chiron up to 300 and something miles an hour there a while ago. Does it matter? Well, it does a bit, because they tried to claim that they had the fastest car in the world and they don't, which is bullshit. At the same time, would anyone have really cared about the SSC Tuatara, whatever the hell it's called? Had this controversy not sprung up, a few of us car nerds would have heard of it. No such thing as bad news, bad publicity. I think there's enough diehards, and they're not going to make them in very big numbers, and the fact that it's USA, that they'll sell the ones they're going to build and the company will move on, because we'll all forget about it, because we have attention spans of goldfish these days. The award for ugliest car of the week, a one-off Ferrari 550 bread van, which was designed and built by Niels van Rooij Design. He's the guy who did like an estate Tesla Model S amongst other things. Yeah, so a customer asked for a modern interpretation of the 250 GTO bread van, which they made, Ferrari themselves made, or possibly it was a privateer. Anyway, it was made back in the 60s to give the car more aerodynamic efficiency in Le Mans and endurance racing. So someone wanted a modern version, so they took a manual Ferrari 550 Maranello and absolutely went to town on it and made it possibly one of the ugliest looking cars ever. From side on, it actually looks quite cool, but the rear and the front are completely inexcusable. It is a manual, though, I suppose, but there's a Perspex dome on the bonnet, like the original one. Now, the original one, you could see the trumpets from the top of the engine through the Perspex. This is a modern engine. It doesn't have trumpets, so it's just there, just as a piece of faff that probably causes more drag than it does anything else. Yeah, it's horrible. I would have saved the money and just get a normal 550 and send it back to Ferrari and get them to make it like it just rolled off the production line. Hideous. Each to their own, I suppose, but keep it the hell away from me. So the two cars we talked about at the beginning of this little shitty broadcast was the Tesla Model S Plaid and the M5 CS. Expensive cars, as we said, €200,000 more as well if you tick some boxes. So, what if you don't want to spend that much money, or you do and you want some alternatives? Don't worry, I've got you covered. First alternative I have is a 2015, so a 991 generation, first gen 991, 911 GT3. It's a PDK, but it's a good colour combination of grey, if you're into that kind of thing. It's got, what's the mileage? It's got just a nudge over 20,000 miles on it, just a nip actually under 21,000. Trade-ins available, if you got anything. Can knock a few figures off this price. 169,995. So look, you're looking at about 30 grand saving on either of the two. Not as practical as either of those two other cars, I would admit, because there's no rear seats and a very, very small boot. So if that's not good enough for you, I have practicality covered. A little bit more expensive this time. We're looking at 193 grand. Still looks like it's going to undercut the other two. But we're looking at a brand new Audi RS6. What more could you need from a car? Big, fast, four-wheel drive estate car. This new one I don't think looks as well as the previous generation. Still not a bad looking car though, quite aggressive and mean looking. Now, if the RS6 is a little bit too reserved for you, I also have that covered for you. Now this one is pushing it. It's a 2016 Bentley Continental GT. It's the V8, so it's the better handling one from what I'm told. This one is 199,950, so you're looking at about the same level as the Tesla and as the BMW, but it does have an Onyx body kit. And that's all we need to say about that. If that's your thing. But if you had the money, really what you should do, especially if you're looking at the BMW or the Tesla, is save yourself a shit ton of money and just find the best BMW E39 BMW M5 you can find. I can only find one for sale in Ireland at the moment, so this probably isn't the best one. Although it does look quite well. It cleans up nicely, and it says it's got a good service history. It does have 275,000 kilometers on it, and it's 19,900, so it's a snip under 20 grand. It's a lot, and it's a lot of miles. But look, go searching. You'll find a better one, and you'll save yourself a hell of a lot of money. And you'll be able to tax and insure it until either you or the car expires. Forgetting all of that over the top nonsense, my classified find of the week is €4,250. Bargain. It has 35,000 kilometers on the clock. It's 3 years just short of vintage, but time flies when you're in lockdown. It's 4-wheel drive, got locking diffs, high and low range. It is a Suzuki Carry pickup 4x4. Just look at it. Look at that little face. Beautiful, beautiful. It is based in Cork, so again, I can't go anywhere near it. So if you beat me to it before restrictions are lifted, hats off to you. What more could you need? Practicality with the pickup bed, 4-wheel drive, got you covered any weather conditions. Cheap tax because it's only 660cc, and you've got a classic on your hands. And it's JDM. JDM's cool. And also, before I sign off, if anyone wants issue 5 of the Road Rat magazine, if you're not familiar with the Road Rat, it's this incredible new series of, well, not new, it's been out for a couple of years now, but they're only up to issue 7 because they come out quarterly. But fantastic magazine, beautiful photography, fantastic writers, and really interesting stories. This is issue number 5. If you would like issue number 5, just send me a private message or a DM with your address and I'll post it out to you. Why am I giving away issue 5 of the Road Rat? Well, because for some reason I managed to order it twice. So if you do want it, you'll be getting this one. It's still in its cellophane wrapper. Yeah, I'll get that out to you. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll probably keep doing this type of rubbish. You might saw a video I put up yesterday about my E39. If you go onto my YouTube channel, you'll find it, or on my Instagram page. But until then, stay well, stay safe, and lots of love to you, huh? Well, I think that went pretty well, don't you? Yes.